The first round of group stage matches is now in the books. All 48 teams have finally stepped onto the field. The predictions, debates, and hype are behind us. Now the football is doing the talking. And what it revealed was surprisingly strange. Right now, almost nobody truly knows who these teams are. The sides everyone considered favorites a few weeks ago often looked shaky, uncertain, or heavily reliant on one or two key players to carry them through. Meanwhile, some of the teams that weren't expected to do much arrived ready to fight from the opening whistle. And then there were a few footballing powerhouses that looked every bit as dominant as people expected. So, let's break it all down. These are the 11 questions that will shape the rest of this World Cup, because the answers to them may ultimately determine who lifts the trophy at the end. And before anyone starts worrying too much about an early setback, it's worth remembering what history tells us. Argentina lost their opening game in 2022 and still went on to become world champions. Spain suffered defeat in their first match in 2010 and ended the tournament holding the trophy. Nearly every World Cup winner experiences a scare along the way, a disappointing performance, a result that leaves supporters anxious. One round of matches is still a very small sample size, but it's enough to start identifying the storylines that could define this tournament. So let's begin with the team that looked the most transformed. Question number 1. Can England maintain this new fearless approach once the knockout rounds begin? Because something genuinely felt different in that 4-2 victory over Croatia. For years under Gareth Southgate, England had a familiar habit. The moment they got ahead, they would drop deeper, focus on protecting the lead, and allow opponents back into matches they should have controlled. The results were often respectable, but the football rarely matched the talent available. Under Thomas Tuchel, the mentality appears completely different. Harry Kane revealed that at halftime, Tuchel encouraged the players to play with freedom. His message was simple. What's the worst that can happen? Show everyone what this team is capable of. And England responded. After producing barely half an expected goal in the opening half, they generated almost 2 expected goals after the break, slicing through Croatia with quick attacking transitions. Based on that performance, England deserved to be considered among the 3 or 4 strongest contenders to win this tournament. The real question is whether that bravery remains when the pressure rises, because once knockout football begins, old habits have a way of creeping back in. Question number 2. Can the United States maintain its aggressive midfield approach against a truly elite opponent? Because the 4-1 victory over Paraguay was one of the most impressive and complete displays of the entire opening round. And perhaps most importantly, it felt completely different from the version of the team that has spent the last 2 years surrounded by doubt and criticism. Mauricio Pochettino pushed his central midfielders further up the field, encouraged aggressive runs beyond the opposition line, and demanded constant pressure whenever possession was lost. Against Paraguay, it worked almost perfectly. But that midfield trio of Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and Malik Tillman is built around intensity, athleticism, and winning the ball back rather than controlling the tempo of a match. It's a high-risk, high-reward approach. When the press is effective, the United States can generate opportunities without needing to patiently break down an organized defense. When it isn't, huge gaps begin to appear between the midfield unit and the defensive line behind them. Top-level opponents are generally much more capable of playing through that pressure. That's why the real test probably won't arrive until the knockout rounds. And when it does, we'll find out very quickly. Question 3, and everyone saw this one coming. Can Portugal finally solve the Cristiano Ronaldo dilemma? After a 1-1 draw with DR Congo, the pressure on Roberto Martinez has only intensified. Those who support Ronaldo point to his scoring record during qualification. Those who question his place point to everything beyond the goals. Portugal possess one of the deepest and most technically gifted midfield groups in the entire tournament. Yet far too often, their possession game seems focused on finding Ronaldo rather than maximizing the quality around him. At this stage, he isn't contributing much to the build-up play, and he isn't consistently stretching opposing defenses either. As a result, all that creativity in midfield often has no clear outlet ahead of it. That leaves Martinez facing one of the toughest decisions of any coach at this World Cup. Is Ronaldo still truly Portugal's best option at striker, or has he become football's most famous automatic starter? Leaving him out completely feels almost unthinkable, but giving the role to a more mobile forward like Gonçalo Ramos could potentially unlock an entirely different version of Portugal. Question 4. Can Turkey finally turn its talent into results? It's become one of football's most familiar storylines. Turkey arrives at a major tournament carrying the label of everyone's favorite dark horse, only to fade away before the competition really begins. That's exactly what happened at both UEFA Euro 2016 and UEFA Euro 2020. And after a 2-0 defeat to Australia, those memories have returned once again. They may now need a victory against Paraguay just to stay alive. The talent within the squad is undeniable. The weaknesses are too. Turkey struggled to create clear-cut chances when facing a settled defense, and the more they pushed forward in search of a result, the more vulnerable they became at the other end. The shot chart explains everything. 16 of their 30 attempts came from outside the penalty area, which helps explain why all that attacking effort produced only around 1.36 expected goals. Arda Güler was expected to announce himself as one of the breakout stars of the tournament. Instead, he spent much of the match trying his luck from distance, with very little to show for it. Major tournaments are usually won by teams that combine structure, discipline, and organization. Talent alone is rarely enough, and so far, Turkey has not shown enough of those qualities. Question 5 is where things get really interesting. Is Ousmane Dembélé about to become the tournament's next breakout global star? Every World Cup seems to create one. James Rodriguez did it in 2014. Kylian Mbappé did it in 2018. A young player arrives with potential and leaves as a worldwide name. Right now, the leading candidate for that role in 2026 appears to be a 19-year-old from Ivory Coast. Against Ecuador, one of the strongest defensive teams in the competition, Dembélé was outstanding. He constantly threatened the penalty area, created 5 scoring opportunities, and completed dribbles past 4 different defenders, and his next matchup could be the perfect stage for an even bigger performance. Germany love to control possession, push high up the pitch, and spend long stretches camped in the opposition half. But they also have genuine vulnerabilities when defending wide spaces and dealing with direct runners. That happens to suit Dembélé perfectly. Every time Germany commit numbers forward, they create another opportunity for him to isolate defenders one-on-one. If Ecuador was the moment the world first noticed him, Germany could be the match that turns him into a star. Question 6. Does Hervé Renard have one more World Cup surprise left in him? Very few managers arrive with a reputation quite like the French coach in the famous white shirt. He's the man who guided Saudi Arabia to that unforgettable victory over Argentina in 2022. He's also won the Africa Cup of Nations twice, with Zambia and Ivory Coast. The expectation was that he would be leading Saudi Arabia at this tournament as well. Instead, Saudi Arabia dismissed him in April. And now, in one of the strangest stories of this World Cup, he has taken charge of Tunisia midway through the tournament. If Tunisia can manage victories against either Japan or the Netherlands, a place in the knockout rounds is still within reach. Taking over a new squad in the middle of a World Cup is about as difficult as football gets, but somehow it would feel completely fitting if Renard once again found a way to create something unexpected, white shirt included. Question 7. Which version of France are we actually going to get? Against Senegal, it looked like 2 entirely different teams showed up. For the first 45 minutes, one of the tournament favorites looked completely out of sync. They managed just a single shot, struggled to connect in attack, and despite having a squad full of star players, nobody seemed capable of taking control of the game. The pressing was absent. Senegal were allowed to dominate possession and repeatedly work the ball into dangerous areas around France's box. Then a tactical adjustment changed everything. Shifting Michael Olise into a more central position gave France something they had been missing all game: a true creative hub. He set up Kylian Mbappe's goal, produced 4 key chances in just one half, and reminded everyone why he is now regarded as one of the world's top attacking talents. So which version of France should we believe? The disorganized and vulnerable side from the first half, or the dominant team that took over after the break? Their potential is undeniably terrifying. But those opening 45 minutes also showed that even a squad packed with world-class talent can be outplayed by a team with better structure and organization. Question 8. Can Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal get fully fit in time to rescue Spain? A lot had to go right for Cape Verde to earn a scoreless draw against Spain. They got an outstanding performance from their goalkeeper. Spain's striker had an unusually poor finishing night, and several promising opportunities simply never fell the right way. In midfield, Spain controlled the match exactly as Luis de la Fuente would have wanted. The issue came in the attacking third, where move after move ended with harmless possession around the edge of the penalty area rather than genuine danger. That's exactly why Yamal and Williams are so important. Very few players in world football can create an advantage completely on their own. They possess the kind of individual brilliance that no tactical system can fully prepare for. The concern is that both players are still working their way back to full fitness and were only used from the bench. Without them, Spain looked worryingly short of attacking threat. They should improve as the tournament progresses, but World Cups don't always allow teams the time they would like. And if Spain's two most dangerous attackers are still not at full strength when the knockout rounds begin, their path becomes far more difficult. Question 9. Does this Brazil team actually know what it wants to be? For decades, Brazil's identity was obvious. Elite attackers, technical brilliance, and devastating counterattacks. This version feels much harder to define. Carlo Ancelotti has inherited a squad filled with top-level players, but perhaps not the same depth Brazil has traditionally enjoyed. And after their match against Morocco, it's still difficult to determine exactly what this team is trying to become. Are they a possession-based side? Are they built around quick transitions designed to maximize Vinicius Jr.? Or are they supposed to be a high-pressing team? At times, the midfield pairing of Bruno Guimaraes and Casemiro repeatedly surrendered possession during the first half, exposing Brazil to dangerous counterattacks. Ancelotti substituted Casemiro at halftime, but not before he had picked up a yellow card and been beaten on the dribble 3 separate times. The basic idea seemed straightforward. Get the ball to Vinicius Jr. and Rafinha, then let them create problems. In reality, that rarely happened. Morocco deserves some credit for making life difficult, but a larger part of the issue was that Brazil, after one game, still appears uncertain about its own identity. Question 10. Can the African nations keep outperforming expectations? Because if there was one region that owned the opening round, it was Africa. Ivory Coast shocked Ecuador, with Ousmane Diomande delivering a standout performance. Cape Verde earned a remarkable result against Spain. Egypt matched Belgium step for step. Morocco stood up to Brazil and refused to be intimidated. DR Congo caused Portugal problems throughout large stretches of their match, and Ghana snatched victory over Panama deep into stoppage time. Apart from some unreliable goalkeeping displays from Tunisia and Algeria, along with South Africa's disappointing showing, African teams overwhelmingly exceeded what most people expected from them. Maybe it's simply the kind of small sample surprise that disappears as the tournament progresses. Or maybe the Africa Cup of Nations, played only a few months ago, served as the perfect preparation, leaving these teams sharper, tougher, and better equipped for the unpredictability of a World Cup than some of the heavily favored nations. Whatever the explanation, in the first round, continuity and cohesion mattered more than any perceived gap in talent. And now for question 11. The question football never seems to get tired of asking. How does Lionel Messi keep doing this? At this point, he's already conquered the sport. There is nothing left for him to prove. Yet in what is almost certainly the final World Cup of his career, at 38 years old, he opened the tournament with a hat-trick against Algeria. Yes, 2 of those goals were helped by questionable goalkeeping. But the achievement remains extraordinary. Messi is now level with Miroslav Klose for the most World Cup goals ever scored. It was also the first World Cup hat-trick of his career, and it made him the first player from Major League Soccer to score 3 goals in a World Cup match. His opening goal captured exactly why Argentina remained genuine contenders, despite an aging squad with visible flaws. 16 minutes had passed, Argentina still hadn't entered Algeria's penalty area, and their attack looked disconnected and short of ideas. Then Messi unleashed a strike from 25 yards and instantly changed the entire mood of the game. That is the contradiction at the heart of this Argentina team. In many ways, they may depend on Messi even more than they did 4 years ago. The difference is that they no longer need him to dominate for an entire match. They simply need him to produce one defining moment when it matters most. And honestly, would you want to bet against him doing exactly that? So that's where the tournament stands after one round. England look refreshed and fearless. The United States look dangerous. Portugal still seemed trapped by unanswered questions. France looked capable of anything. Spain appeared vulnerable without their game changers. Brazil looked uncertain of its own identity. Africa looked fearless. And Messi somehow still looks eternal. 11 questions after one round of matches, and the most fascinating part is that almost none of them have been fully answered. That's exactly why the next set of games feels unmissable. because this is usually the stage where teams stop searching for their identity and start revealing who they truly are. So which question are you most interested in seeing answered? Is it the Cristiano Ronaldo situation? Is it whether the United States can maintain this level against stronger opposition? Or is it whether anyone can stop Messi one final time? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed the video, a like helps more than most people realize. Subscribe as well if you want World Cup coverage that follows every major storyline, not just the biggest highlights. Because football on this stage is never only about a tournament. It's a snapshot of history, and we're only at the beginning.